What is up, YouTube? M40 here. So we're going to be doing our discussion today for the new format. iGas went legal this weekend, and with it, well, we had a lot of interesting decks. First up, announcement tonight at 5 p.m. EST Monday night. We will be doing a little fun stream. Everybody's going to get the chance to give some contribution towards my regional deck. Give a chance for me to interact with my patrons, along with some other fun, interesting stuff. Hopefully giveaways and the big mat reveal for what we've been working on. Also, Broccoli's came in. So, for those of you that are going to see me in Indy this weekend, I might have some fun stuff put together to play on the side. Now, yes, I'll be at the Indy Regional as well. That's a lot of information. Let's dig on into this discussion, shall we? Alright, so Spiral is not as crazy as we thought. The deck is very, very good. But I'm seeing a lot of diversity here across multiple regional platforms, things like that. So this weekend we had the Minnesota Regional. I know that's really far up north there. Ethan Shorten ended up winning with Extrav Spiral, with triple Lightning Storm, triple Appaloosa. By the way, they're all prismatic. I'll have the deck profile, then we'll have the actual deck profile. I'll get it in Indy this weekend, and then I'll have it for next week, and that way players can be like, oh, what? That's so cool. Yeah, it's actually just super expensive deck. So I think that is actually really freaking cool that we got the chance to see that. Now, Spiral, I don't know, man. Like, I've seen, maybe people just aren't sharing a lot of Spiral information this weekend, but I've only heard like 2 Spiral decks do well, and they were both extra builds. But once again, it's only out of like 8-9 deck lists that I've seen, so a little spawn in the pond there. I also heard out of the Montreal Regional that Orkest ended up winning with a slightly larger danger package here. Actually, I'm looking at the list right now. I'll post it later in the week if Sam hasn't beat me to it yet. But looking at this, yeah, this is a pretty big danger package in the deck with the standard Orkest package. Nothing out of the too craziness looking at this list, but I think that Orkest, even doing more than just kind of sitting at the dinner table and just being like, hi, I'm here, is actually pretty cool. Now, you guys have probably seen Tyler Jedlicka making posts around Zoodiac, talking about, Barrage plus Area Zero is like this whole cool little extra link shenanigans that you can do with Sky Striker. Well, I'm also going to post this list later in the week as well. If you guys want all this information, just give me time to post it. I like to spread things out. For those of you that are curious about this, always show some love on the video. Click it. Click the little like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. But we ended up actually taking this theory, playing Diabolsis, playing the whole Area Zero, playing the whole Barrage concept. I mean, the only main deck monster he was playing was 1 Whiptail with 3 Barrage with 1 Broad Bull. Because that's literally the amount of dedication that you can dedicate to this engine. But it was actually, I'm still looking at this deck and I'm like, wow. Like, you actually did. Like, I know people were talking about Diabolsis in the deck. Granted, I was a little bit on the fence about it. But I get what you're doing, because Diabolsis gives you that backbone that you really needed. And with like how fragile the format is right now, you can afford those slightly slower, paced decks. So I do think that that's a good thing right now. So yes, Striker has a top for this format. No, it's not amazing, but it's kind of cool to see that. Players did say that the deck wasn't dead. Players were constantly pushing this deck. They were like, it's still here, people. Like, we just got to figure this out. Like, you can't expect to figure out the formula overnight. Like, you got to let multiple people work at this. And it looks like we're figuring it out. Now, the big one here that should not be a shocker to anybody is we're figuring out Salad. Multiple tops coming out of this weekend. So much Salad, actually. And this was another one of those decks that we knew was going to take a little while. I've seen builds maximizing on Roar and Rage, which, to be honest, is a little bit heavier of a build. I get it. I think there's been a general consensus now that you're going to triple Jack Jaguar with your decks. It kind of depends, but multiple copies of Roar and Rage. The good thing I like seeing between majority of the decks, though, is we can't decide if we're playing frickin' Phantasme or not. I do think the Phantasme is a really good card. Don't get me wrong. Against certain matchups, yeah, it's good, but it's a little bit up in the air. Depends. Like, can you drop it against Spiral? Do I not draw it against Spiral? Seems to be another one of those little consensus points. Also, we're back on the, do I play 2 of the Revival spell or do I play 3 of the Revival spell? I'm not a Salad player, but like when I look at ratios, I'm like 2 versus 3 on multiple builds. Like, what do we do? It's the same thing right now with heroes. All right, I've got hero players in my group chat that are like, should we play Droll and Lockbird or should we play Ash Imperm? All right, I think I've seen 2 good hero lists this format. One of them is playing Ash. The other one's playing Ash and Imperm. None of the decks are maining Droll right now, from what I've seen. Droll is a very good card right now, but I think a lot of players are just like, well, I would rather generically curve out my matchup, inside the Droll. Ash being a slightly better choice for game 1 overall for the whole metagame. If you're going into a tournament where you're going to play against Infinite Spiral, well, I mean, yeah, that's a thing. But if you don't end up playing against Lost Spiral and you end up playing against things like Salad, I guess hindsight's 50-50 for that decision, and that's something that you're going to have to make as a player going into the tournament. Like, also, Droll's really bad against Geist. Like, I guess you could do it after the Extrav, but my whole thing is, like, they only do 2 searches in a turn anyway, so Droll's not even really that good. So, once again, hindsight's 50-50, so it really just depends what you as the player want to do. And then we've also had Paleo Frogs doing its thing this format. I think the Paleo Frogs are still too slow of a deck. I'm probably going to get complained at in my comment section. They're like, what do you mean Paleo Frogs aren't that good? They're still winning! And I'm like, guys, like, set 5 against a fully committed Spiral board is death. Rob, you don't know what you're talking about. We break boards all the time. And I'm like, well, I don't see it. Like, I really don't. Like, the worst matchup right now for Paleo Frogs is Spiral going first. Sleepy Boy is good. All right. I mean, you can say that about a lot of matchups. But if you're going into a tournament, you're going to at least lose one of those dice rolls to Spiral, and you're going to just have a bad time. Like, it's basically a death for you. Unless you got to the sphere mode or something like that. But I don't even see it at that point. So, I do think it's a good control deck. I don't want to discredit its tops or anything. But I think that its worst matchup is actually just Spiral. Like, yeah, if you go for sure, you should have a good matchup there. But it really is just kind of up there. Shout out to Ethan, by the way. A sub comment here. Told me the funniest story of the week here was he was playing the Spiral Mirrored as regional. And his opponent goes drone, stacks his deck, and then makes the double helix. And then Ethan's like, alright, cool. So he revives his quick fix from the graveyard with the mission. Banishes for the quick effect, a special summon. Searches his deck for a utility card. And then his opponent has to blind call the double helix, which he ends up missing, by the way, costing him the game. I thought that was a really cool little thing that I got the chance to hear. I'm like, wow, that actually adds like a whole nother layer to the matchup. Like, it's really like the little things that you hear about in these decks that you're like, wow, that's the scummiest thing that you could actually end up doing in the mirror. Forcing a deck shuffle on your opponent, just watching your opponent whiff on that nay-nay. Like, that is cool. Like, I never would have thought of that. I mean, like, in the situation, had it come up, sure. But, I don't know, sitting here and being like, oh, you can force your opponent to whiff. That's pretty cool. So outside of that, that's your little ramble for the metagame right now. Just the little things I've saw. It's interesting out there right now. So we'll probably have another discussion later in the week. Like I said, I have Indy coming up this weekend. I'll be there torturing myself playing that hot pile of whatever the heck we're going to concoct for the new format. Our record is to do better than 2-6 at an event. But you know, you got to see where that goes. So guys, what do you think? Please comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Well, guys, I'm out. Peace. The ride never truly ends. Thank you, patrons, for helping support the channel. Without you guys, I don't know if I'd still be doing this. And for those of you that like Cardfight Vanguard, FanCool40 is here for all your content needs. And those of you asking if I sell cards, mcoolgames.com for all your trading card game needs. Check the description for more interesting info. Thanks for watching, guys.